The future tense is very important when we speak. We always need to talk about our plans, our ideas, and things that we are gonna do. I already made videos about the present and the past tense in Russian, so the only one that has left is the future tense. So let's learn it now. Russian tenses are much easier than in English, French, or Spanish because we have just 3 tenses. Can you imagine it? In English you have 12, and here you need to learn just 3: the present, past, and future. But of course we're talking about Russian, so it can't be that simple. Because a little problem we start having when we have different aspects. Because for the aspect, imperfective and perfective, we will have 2 different rules, especially when we're talking about future tense. So for imperfective, we will have 1 rule, how to form future and when to use it, and the same for perfective aspect. So that's the only thing that we need to think about. And if you find this topic of Russian verbs, Russian aspects difficult to learn, I already have a course that can help you. You can study it on Udemy in 2 hours. You have videos, you have exercises. So like this, you will learn all the rules, how to use these aspects, and you will practice. And you will practice 55 the most important and the most useful Russian verbs. Like this, it'll be much easier for you to remember these verbs, to start using them in your daily conversations, because as I said, they are the most common. The link for this course you can find under this video. And now, let's start with the imperfective aspect. First, how to form it. Here it's very easy. We take the verb to be, быть, and we put it in the future form. Like this, you have these forms. Я буду, ты будешь, он, она будет, мы будем, вы будете, and они будут. And to this verb, you will have to add any infinitive, imperfective infinitive. That's important. It should be imperfective. So if you need to say I will read, you will say я буду читать. Or if you need to say ты будешь писать, мы будем спать. For every form, you will have to add just the infinitive, and that's it. There is nothing difficult here. And we will use this aspect, imperfective, in such form when we're talking about the process of the action. So when you mean that you will be doing something for quite some time. The process of the action or the repetition of the action. Every day, every year, often, never, always. Any word here that shows you the repetition of the action will help you, because like this you can understand that, okay, here I have to use this aspect, this form. Я буду читать. And let's look at the examples. Я буду работать каждый день. Я буду работать. Каждый день, that's the repetition of the action. Мы будем смотреть фильм вечером. We understand that the movie is not just 1 second. It's probably 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and stuff like this. So we understand that it's a long process. That's why мы будем смотреть. Then, как долго она будет рисовать? Как долго? This word долго is just perfect, because if you have this word in your sentence or you want to say a sentence using this word, it'll be imperfective aspect, because долго shows the process, how long, for how long. Always it's imperfective, that's why будет рисовать. And the last example, мы будем вместе. Here I decided to use just this word to be separately for you to show how to say such a simple sentence, because sometimes even this sentence is pretty complicated because people try to add some more words, мы будем быть вместе or stuff like this. So here try to remember, if you have just the verb to be in English in the future, I will be, you will be. In Russian, it'll be just one word as well, like the one that I gave you at the very beginning. Я буду, ты будешь, мы будем, вы будете, and other forms. Okay, that's it for imperfective, and now perfective aspect. This one will be a little bit more complicated because here we will have to conjugate one word. And conjugation is always more complicated than just adding an infinitive to other verb. So here, what we need to do, we take the perfective aspect of the verb. If we talk about the verb читать, читать is imperfective and прочитать is perfective. So let's take this verb прочитать. And when you need to form future tense, you will have to take this infinitive, drop two last letters, t, it's usually t, and add the endings. And good news, the endings will be just the same as for the present tense. Maybe it's not good news because it's very easy to confuse them. If you don't know that you're talking about future, it's very easy to confuse it with the present tense, because the same verb, я читаю, that's I am reading, in the present tense I read, and я прочитаю, it's I will read, I will be reading. So you see that я читаю, я прочитаю. If you don't know that this prefix pro means the perfective aspect, very easy to confuse and very easy to think that прочитаю it's also the present, but no, it's the future tense. And as I said, the endings, all the endings will be just the same as for the present tense. So let's see all these forms. Я прочитаю, ты прочитаешь, он, она прочитает, мы прочитаем, вы прочитаете, они прочитают. But the other problem is that we have a lot of irregular verbs. And irregular verbs, they will have the same form again as in the present tense. Let's take as an example the word писать. Писать in the present. Я пишу, ты пишешь, он пишет, она пишет, мы пишем, вы пишете, они пишут. It's irregular because in the infinitive you have писать, letter s, and here when you conjugate you change this letter to the letter sh. Писать, пишу, пишешь. And when you form perfective aspect, it'll be написать. And when you need to put it in the future tense, it'll be the same rule as for the present. So you will have to say я напишу. You see, я пишу, я напишу. The only thing that you did is that you added this prefix на. Same will be for other forms. Я напишу, ты напишешь, он, она напишет, мы напишем, вы напишете, они напишут. So here, as you understand, it's much easier to make a mistake because the conjugation is always more complicated. And here, when you conjugate something, always be careful and always check the conjugation in some online dictionaries, because some online dictionaries, they give you, if you put the word писать, and then it has the special thing in the dictionary that you can click and you can see all the conjugations of the verb. So like this, you check the future tense for the verb написать, and like this, you will see that there it's написать, напишу, and напишешь, and stuff like this. So here, be careful just with the conjugation. And then, when we use this perfective aspect. Perfective will be just the opposite of imperfective. If before we had the process of the action and repetition, Here it'll be one single action, or when you're talking about the fact of the action, that you'll do something tomorrow. You just want to show that it won't be process, it'll be the result, the fact of the action, like I'll call you tomorrow. Obviously, if you say I'll call you tomorrow, you don't mean it like I'll be calling you like in the process. No, it is a simple short action which will have some goal, some result, and it's just a fact and one single action. So like this, we can have here this example. Я позвоню тебе завтра. Or then, когда ты уже прочитаешь эту книгу. Прочитаешь. Here I'm asking about the result, like when you finally finish this book. Like not the process of reading, like я буду читать, а я прочитаю, or ты прочитаешь, like the result, the goal of finishing this book. Then, если будет хорошая погода, мы пойдем гулять. Same logic. Мы пойдем гулять, just a fact. If the weather is good, then we'll go outside. That's it. You see, yes, the rules are not complicated, just the perfective, you need to be careful with it. And the main mistake that people usually make is when they confuse these two aspects. For example, if you want to say, I'll call you tomorrow, this simple sentence. People first learn the imperfective, я буду. And then they learn the perfective, they know that, okay, perfective form of звонить is позвонить, so they mix these two rules up. They say, я буду позвонить. It's incorrect. Because if you use я буду, it's always 100% should be imperfective. Я буду звонить, or if you decided to use позвонить, it'll be я позвоню. So don't mix them up. There are two different rules, two different verbs, I can say, that you will use in two different situations. And I can tell you that more often you will need to use perfective aspect, я позвоню, just one word, because more often you talk about some plans, some ideas that just a fact that you want to mention, just a fact that you'll do something like a single action, or you want to show the future result. So that's why perfective aspect is more useful here. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to my Patreon page to practice this rule, this future tense of Russian verbs, and subscribe to my YouTube channel to keep studying Russian with me.